What's good, everybody? Mr. Nobody is here. And what I want to talk about today is somebody's baloney has a first name and it's called grifting. And the big grift I want to get into today is this whole Enes Kanter, Royce White, and all of them talking about trans athletes going into the WNBA and whatnot. Now, look, I know it's a talking point, which is why it's also a grift at the same time. And listen, I was like, I'll just come out and say that, hey, I think that there could be questions at hand. There could be things that we want to figure out. There could be things that could this be an actual issue later down the road? Sure, could be, probably. As far as how we deal with this, how we talk about this. The problem is that nobody can have a genuine conversation about any of this because everybody just sort of wants to make it a conversation on some BS that they all want to point out on something about like, hey, we're trying to protect women's rights when it's like, yeah, except for, all the other things that you're not doing. So that's what makes it a grift than something that, hey, it can actually be something worth talking about or something worth of figuring out. Right now, look, it's not really a thing. It's not like it's just popping up everywhere where it's just like, oh my God, there's one there. That's not happening. And there's nobody over here proceeding to go to the WNBA. There's really not many playing in college sports. There's really nothing to worry about or whatever. Now, like I said, will there be an eventual type of thing? Sure, yeah, probably. And when that bridge comes across, I feel like you can go ahead and deal with it. Just because it's not like it's an epidemic in some type of way that's like, oh my God, they're all going to flood in the area. We have to figure this out fast. Like, sure, would I like to sort of be ahead on things or whatever? So it's like cool or whatever that you can. Because I'm like, sometimes I think if you also have an understanding of it now, that when more information comes out later on, you can adjust properly instead of everybody scrambling or whatever. But like I said, this is really more about a situation where it's like, man, how do I keep myself relevant? How do I have something to talk about? How do I stir the pot? Oh, I know. This is what I'll talk about. I'll talk about some trans things. So look, I was like, you know what? With I'll say with like Cantor, I'm gonna call him Cantor. Freedom. I was like, look, you're not cool enough to be like Ron Artest, Ron, Meta World Peace and all that. Uh, I was like, look, his was pretty much straightforward. He said, I was like, over here, I'm just protecting women's rights. He had on the shirt. I was like, he's declaring for the draft or whatever. I was like, his was sort of like short, simple. He just sort of he clocked in that point. Then he was over here to clock out his check. I was like explanatory. There wasn't much to it or whatever. I was like, he's sort of a clown in general, just because I'm just like, nobody heard about you in like forever. Y'all were like, you was in the league, now you out the league, sort of thing. And to be honest, I was like, don't get me wrong, I was like years ago when he was talking about Turkey, I was like him sort of like, oh man, come out LeBron, even though it was really more of a LeBron thing than it was anything else. All right, cool. He had necessary talking points. I forgot that dude existed. I was like, he ain't been doing anything else that I've been knowing of or whatever like that. And hey, maybe some of that's on me, but hey, maybe it's also the fact that whatever he was talking about didn't reach what it needed to do. And the people that you're over here trying to entertain on this topic didn't care about none of that bullshit that you were talking about beforehand, because that's what they seen it as, was bullshit. Now, the real person in all of this that I think is sort of crazy on this grift of grifts is Royce White. To me, that dude's a whole goofy in everything that he was doing. I was like, at first I was like, oh, okay, he was doing the same thing as Ennis. I was just like, I declare for the draft. Just about protecting women or whatever. And it's like, okay, cool. He's doing the same thing. Scroll up. or whatever. Then I'm like, oh, this whole dude got into a wig, and then he started playing a character. Now, one, his stuff wasn't funny. Could have been funny. I was like, but wasn't funny. I'll admit that. I was like, hey, you do something that can give me a chuckle, I'll chuckle. But this ain't even nothing worthy of that. This was just kind of like, oh, all right. With that being said, I also don't understand the way that he went about it. You know, when he was over here, he's like, what stopped me from flying was an anxiety. It was the trans woman in me. And I think I was like, I think it's, I'm really, I was like a woman at heart and all this other stuff. And to me, what makes it more goofy love than what you were trying to do is really to me sound like, yo, are you admitting something to all of us? Are you telling on yourself? Are you letting us know that if this was possible, this is what you would do? Like, well, by possible, I mean like if you was allowed to, not being like, not be cowering inside of yourself about some stuff. Because everything that he was sort of saying and he was doing was really sort of just like, yo, you're saying you're a woman. You're saying like you're admitting to this more than doing a skit on this. I know you were doing a skit, but that's not how it was coming off, my man. It was coming off like you was over here, like saying it. And my thing is, that I'm like, to the people that's listening to your points and stuff like that. Listen, if you clip that up, that's what it sounds like you are. It sounds like you are really more so telling that you really just want to enter the WNBA draft in a year or so because you are a woman at heart. But also too, at the same time, I was like, there's no way for you to win this. Like, this is one of them things where like guys put themselves in a corner where it's like if you decide to go into the WNBA, cool, and you're like, yo, I would dominate. But guess what? Now you're dominating against a bunch of girls, bunch of women, and therefore you look like a clown. You look dumb. You are like, I'm dominating against women. It's like, yeah, but they're girls. So guess what? You lose on that side. But also, if you go over there and say you can't produce like you did in your NBA career, then you also look goofy because it's like, damn, you can't beat a bunch of girls either. So you put yourself in a corner. Like you sound dumb. Like, yes, I know he's not going to go into the WNBA, but the fact that he would even be over here like, yo, I can dominate, I can beat them, which a lot of I do think they could against women anyway. Now I'm like, okay, what do you win out of that? Either side, you don't really win anything out of it. You just look dumb, like you just sound at the same time. But let's be honest, you going to go to the WNBA because you can't also. This is the third actual spot that he actually gets stuck in is because it's like, oh, so you go to the WNBA because you couldn't do anything in the NBA. I was like, you was garbage there. You know what? I won't even say that he was garbage because he never had a chance to see if he was totally garbage. He didn't play enough minutes to calculate that he was garbage. Like, that's how much of it. Like there's levels in the league. He didn't even get up to garbage. I was like, so you didn't even do nothing over there. So it's like, you have to go over here because what are your other options? I was like, you're not doing anything else anywhere else. And also, what's crazy to me is that a dude, and this sort of go with like, and this as well too, that guys that were over here advocating on sides that would be basically what the side that they're not on right now, the team they're not on, that stuff that they were wanting to do would be looked upon as frowned upon, and basically y'all would be looked at as like some weak ass punks. That's what it really would be. Like that's what it really would be. Like, and it's the whole. I mean, not in it's Royce. The whole thing was at a time that you was over here talking about flying on a plane or whatever like that, which apparently he sort of did do. Where you're playing with Iowa and stuff. I was like, we wasn't doing this mental health stuff that we're doing now. We wasn't over here talking about anxiety. What is who gets anxiety? What's anxiety for? So with all that said, all that stuff that you were wanting people to do. And look, I was like, especially when it was first doing that, I was heavily on Roy's side. I was like to the point that when Kevin Love, I think, came out and was talking about like anxiety and all these other type of things in the league, I was like, no. I was like, Royce was over here. Like he wasn't playing. He put his career on the line and all this other stuff. He could have been a decent player, but anxiety was so bad and all these other things. Woody woo. That I was like, yo, he was really the first guy. And hey, cool. Maybe you got some resentment about that decide that nobody didn't champion you on about it or whatever, which is crazy because the side that would have championed you on wasn't the side that was probably also calling you a pussy back then. And as of right now, I was like, guess what? You still get to be. You still get to be that. Because I was like, you couldn't go to the NBA because you were scared to fly. You couldn't. I was like, guess what? You missed out on a chance to see how good you was to get the money and all that other stuff. Why? Because you couldn't fly. Oh no, it's scary. See how that sort of sounds? And from the other end, I was like, that worrying about your mental health and all that other stuff. Man, that seems like such a snowflake thing to be worried about. You know, I was like, but yet, not only you scared to fly, you also seem like you scared of trans. At the same time, you're scared of them as well because what are you worried about? What are you worried about? Also, this is never a thing on the other side. You understand that? Is I was like, which like cool. I was like, your stance on it to be like protecting women or whatever. But but I was like, but it's one of these weird little conundrum things where it's like, why is that? Oh, because okay, you believe that I was like, that's not a woman, that's a man. So what part are you worried about? You're worried about the man part. Well, so I was like, so not only I was like, if we over here with the belief that it's like, oh, men are stronger, faster, and all that other stuff than women. Okay, cool. That's why you don't want them playing in the sport because it's an unfair advantage. But also some of the other thing that y'all want to protect about is because that's a guy right there. But at the same time, you place any of those other things not on a trans person, but you just place them on a cis man, a biological man or whatever. Oh, whoa, no. We're not that. We're not those type of guy. It's the ones it's them over there. So, oh, okay. So I was like, you want to protect them basically from men, but not you, not that kind of men. The kind of men that the ones that will be over here transitioning. I was like, that's the ones that we got to worry about, not all the other ones as well too. Not them. Okay, cool. I'm just making sure. I'm just making sure. But we don't ever worry about the women that transition over to a man and say they'll try to go to man's sport. Why? Because you're like, they're women. What can they do? Ha. So it doesn't work on that end. It's only a one-way street. It's only a one-way street. So we're not over here advocating for, the protect men like male athletes or whatever like that. Why? Because it's like when you have like because we'll get back to it on protecting women. Women are inferior. That's what I really sort of hear when I sort of like try to connect the dots. So anyway, now I was like, look, that's pretty much it. I was like, I just thought it. I was like, I always think that the talking point pretty much is like dumb. I was like, I don't ever really care. I was like, because I'm inquisitive. I like questions. I like thoughts about stuff. I will like to like figure out some stuff. But once again, is it coming from the right place? Is there a right reason behind it? Most time it's not. Also, once we sort of dive into that rabbit hole of what does all these type of I was like of like when we're doing, especially when we start getting into sports and stuff, it's going to be very more complicated that you're going to realize there's more stuff that goes into it than just like me man, she woman, roar, I lift boulder. I was like she plants fruit, whatever. I was like, there's a lot more that goes into it that I'm just like, they're not willing to go into. They're not willing to have a discussion or a conversation about that makes it all disingenuous. So why even have the point of bringing it up when it's not really affecting you and it's not affecting you specifically on anything that you care about? Because guess what? You're already probably not watching the WNBA. So, why? Because they're women playing sports. So therefore, you sound like you don't really care about them. There's nothing in there that you really are trying to get a helping hand of trying to figure out. So you over here is also being disingenuous in that aspect as well too. And I was like, I thought about adding the Sophie thing in here, but Sophie sort of has her own thing, uh, where I'm like, that could just be a whole thing in a video itself. Might be because I was like, she got more than I was like than that being her talking point. I like she. I'm not saying she could slide more on the talking point, but I'm saying that she could do it. She could slide on it way more than them two. God, them two are being Nimrods when they're over here with their conversation about it. Not saying that she's also not in the same boat. I'm just saying that if her stance is you feel is going to be fake, what the hell is A2 stance is going to be? So anyway, let me all know what you all think. I was like pretty sure how this probably goes. It normally goes when we anything trans it's a topic. But that being said, hey, Mr. Nobody, he's out.